With enormous billboards portraying none other than Caitlin Clark looming over the streets, Angel Reese received the harshest reality check of her career right in the middle of Chicago.
Nike has now gotten involved in the trolling of Angel Reese as they have decided to put a billboard in Chicago right down the road from where Angel
Reese's fan,
her hometown. The message is clear: this is Clark's league. Now, in the first, fans of Angel Reese are furious, calling it unjust, disrespectful, and an insult to their so-called queen. But
oh my goodness, Angel Reese's fans.
But is this just
here's the reality. Chicago simply let the world know who truly controls women's basketball in the second division. But is this just business, or is it a calculated jab at Angel Reese? Why is the entire internet going crazy over this? Let's break it down. Billboards aren't put up for players who miss layups. They're put up for superstars who change the game. There have been some intense rivalries in the WNBA over the years, but none have ignited the league like the ongoing conflict between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. The two have been compared, discussed, and pitted against one another since their historic
had somebody on your show who literally pointed out you can't make a damn layup. I mean, she brought the joke to the podcast. Yeah, she said she's going to help her, but literally calls her out.
Nike
college games, and now that they are both in the professional ranks, the competition has only gotten more intense. However, what recently transpired in Chicago has elevated this rivalry to a level far beyond basketball in the third place. Nike just made a daring declaration, putting the image of Caitlin Clark on enormous billboards in Chico. Not only did Angel Reese's hometown of Chicago have 2 billboards in the center of the city where she is meant to be the star, but her followers went utterly crazy and social. Media erupted in indignation. Supporters of Reese spoke to it as rude, unfair, and an insult to their queen. Some even suggested that it was deliberate sabotage, as though the league and corporate sponsors were trying to harm her. But
it's really just the fans, her fans, the Iowa fans, now the Indiana fans that are like, they ride for her. And I respect that respectfully, but sometimes it's very disrespectful. I think there's a lot of racism when it comes to it, and I don't believe she stands on any of that. But when it comes to death threats, like, I'm talking about people have come down to my address, follow me home. Like, it's come down to that. Multiple occasions, people have made AI pictures of me, like, naked. Literally.
Really?
They have sent it to my family members. My family members are like, uncles are sending it to me like,
no.
Are you naked on Instagram?
Reality is much more terrible. For Reese's admirers to acknowledge that Caitlin Clark is just more attractive and marketable than Angel Reese. The purpose of the billboard was commerce, not disrespect or a jab at Angel Reese. In the world of basketball, Caitlin Clark outsells everyone else in the women's division, even in Illinois, in terms of ticket sales, viewership, and revenue. The new residents of Angel Reese in the condition, reality doesn't sit well with Reese's most loyal admirers, and the billboard swiftly became the catalyst for a social media meltdown. Caitlin Clark's basketball reference player biography receives more visits than hers, but that isn't media prejudice or a conspiracy. Reese's supporters rushed to make excuses, claiming that the media was using her as an explanation for Clark's fame and that Angel Reese was equally as popular as Clark, if not more so. But here's the thing. Billboards are truthful. This isn't just about marketing, it's about impact. Caitlin Clark earned this attention. She didn't seek for it or push for it. Clark Caitlin sells out. While arenas break viewing numbers and spark unprecedented conversation about the WNBA, Angel Reese's presence in the league hasn't exactly resulted in game-changing success. She's still getting used to the professional level and coping with the fact that talking doesn't win basketball games. The main reason Reese's admirers are having a hard time right now is because they know deep down that Clark is superior. Caitlin. Clark is not your typical giddy prospect. She is a multi-generational talent who is changing the definition of success in women's basketball globally. Even when she played in Chicago against Reese's team, most of the supporters in the arena were there for her and were wearing Fever shirts. Clark is known for drawing enormous crowds, applauded for Clark, and painfully pointed out that, in a head-to-head contest, Clark is the more attractive player. The marketing team in Chicago recognized that this is the reality, and Nike is aware of it as well. Instead of embracing it, Reese's followers are doing what they do best, making excuses, shifting blame, and pretending as though this is some sort of grand injustice. The backlash was swift. Anger-filled posts from Reese's most devoted fans swamped social media. Claiming that the billboard placement was disrespectful and deliberate, they implied that it was a direct jab at Angel Reese, as though Clark had personally ordered it to be placed there in order to humiliate her. The irony is that this isn't even the first time that Kate Clark has commandeered a city with billboards. Nike and other big brands have featured Clark on billboards in several cities across the nation, from New York to Los Angeles. Her influence is nationwide. She isn't just a star in one market, she is the face of women's basketball everywhere. This is precisely why Reese's fans are so offended because, despite their best efforts to hype her up, she just doesn't have the same impact as Clark. Caitlin Clark is incredibly talented. The biggest issue for Reese's fan base is that she is still trying to establish herself. They have spent so much time promoting her as a generational star that they now have to face the reality that Caitlin Clark is actually spearheading the women's basketball movement. TV ratings are at an all-time high because of Clark, who is also the reason why people who had never watched women's basketball before are now paying attention. She is a good player with promise, but she isn't the one who is changing the sport, or the billboard. This is just another reminder of who currently controls the WNBA. This wasn't a fluke or a random decision. This was the business. The world acknowledging reality Caitlin Clark is a phenomenon in addition to being a talented player. Consequently, Nike. The entire basketball community, including Chicago, is supporting her Angel. But in the end, that billboard will remain up, and it's not just a sign in the city. It's a sign of the times Caitlin Clark is here, taking over, and no amount of outrage will change that. What's even more absurd is that this might just be the beginning. Reese's fans can cry about it, complain about it, and throw tantrums online. Even though Clark is only in her first season, she is already receiving more media coverage, brand partnerships, and fan interaction than any other player in the league. Just think of what will happen when she begins to dominate the court even more. This isn't just Clark versus Ree. Women's basketball is entering a new era where talking won't get you as many billboards as playing like a superstar, and Caitlin Clark is now the only player who is actually deserving of that moniker. The controversy surrounding the Caitlin Clark billboards in Chicago has only grown more intense. What began as a straightforward marketing tactic has split the WNBA fan base on one side, while Clark supporters view it as a well-earned spotlight for the most well-liked player in women's basketball on the other. Fans of Reese are furiously expressing their disapproval of the move on the internet, calling it disrespectful, deliberate, and downright degrading for their favorite player. As the drama began to calm down, the Chicago Sky social media team chose to escalate the controversy further by posting mocking and subtly disparaging remarks about the billboard controversy, using a combination of capital